New York City and other sanctuary cities in the Northeast are second-guessing their policies now that they're being flooded with illegal immigrants. Many blame Republicans, but are they being hypocrites? No. It's not hypocritical at all for a sanctuary city to call for migrants moving elsewhere. Welcome to America Uncovered, I'm Chris Chappell. The illegal immigrant crisis has reached the northeastern United States, which apparently means that we can actually start calling it a crisis. During Trump's presidency, many Democrat-run cities declared themselves sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants. But they're starting to regret it now that the crisis at the southern border is being exported north. Republican border states like Texas, angry at the Biden administration Democrats for mishandling border security, have been sending migrants to sanctuary cities over the past year. A lot of them. Since last year, more than 13,000 have come to Chicago. It's being hit hard, so hard that migrants are forced to sleep on the floor of police stations, as well as Chicago's O'Hare Airport. The mayor of Chicago says that at this rate, taxpayers will have to pay more than $250 million on the migrant crisis by the end of the year, which apparently means Chicago residents will have to sacrifice to balance the costs. Don't worry, I'm sure Chicago's top politicians will be taking their fair share of the burden as well. The entire state of Massachusetts is scrambling to find shelter for illegal immigrants, too. Just like Chicago, State Governor Maura Healey declared a state of emergency for the surge of migrants seeking shelter in Massachusetts. She has also activated the National Guard to help. According to the Associated Press, there are currently over 20,000 illegal immigrants in Massachusetts shelters. And according to official estimates, 1,000 families, not individuals, are arriving in Massachusetts shelters every month. But out of all the Democrat-run sanctuary cities, the one that's hurting the most is New York City. Things have gotten wildly out of hand, with too many illegal immigrants and not enough housing. Given how expensive it is to live there, it's easy to see why. I'm considering getting rid of my apartment and just living on Sept. In response to the influx of migrants, New York City is building shelters such as this one, which is meant to house 1,000 people at a time. But without work opportunities, that's not enough to keep migrants from getting stuck in overcrowded temporary housing. And that's just one problem the city is facing. There are so many migrants that schools are overflowing. It's a huge headache for teachers. Not only do they have to deal with students who are continually moving between shelters and temporary housing, but they also have to deal with the language barrier. According to the BBC, finding teachers who can speak not just Spanish, but more than a dozen other languages has been a challenge. That's because people are coming from West Africa and Russia, as well as South and Central America. And not everyone in South America speaks Spanish. According to the New York City mayor's office, the number of asylum seekers currently in the city's care approaches 60,000, as more than 110,000 asylum seekers have arrived in New York City since last spring. It's gotten to the point where Democratic New York City Mayor Eric Adams warned that the migrant crisis will destroy New York City.
Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now, with 110,000, the city we knew we're about to lose.
This has earned Adams a lot of criticism from pro-migrant organizations. The executive director of the New York Immigration Coalition called the comments uncalled for, insightful, and triggering. The New York's Legal Aid Society and the Coalition for the Homeless said in a joint statement, this dangerous rhetoric is something you'd expect from fringe politicians on the far right of the political spectrum, not the mayor of a city that has always welcomed and celebrated its diverse and critically important immigrant community. One MSNBC host even called Adams a Trump knockoff. I guess I can see the resemblance. But if Adams has gone quote-unquote far right, he's not alone. But before I continue, I got to share with you an exciting opportunity. Do you like gaming? Do you like complex geopolitical analysis with pretentious philosophical ramblings sprinkled in with a dash of humor? Then you might be the perfect candidate for our new channel, Gamers Unbeaten. We have a segment called Deep Thoughts While Gaming, and we're looking for writers. If you have experience writing, send a resume and cover letter to gamersunbeaten@gmail.com explaining why you think you'd be the perfect candidate for the job. Applications will be closed September 30th, so if you're watching this episode in the future and you've missed the date, please don't apply. Back to the show. So Democrat Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, is angry that he doesn't have the funds needed to support the huge influx of illegal immigrants coming his way. And now, New York City, a self-declared sanctuary city, is trying to send them elsewhere in the state. This isn't sitting well with other New York counties, which are issuing executive orders prohibiting local businesses from providing temporary shelter. 2 are even suing New York City over it. But that's okay. New York City says they have effectively illegally walled off their borders to asylum seekers, so it's going to sue them right back. Trump should take notes. Who need physical walls when we can just wall off our borders with ironclad executive orders? But the situation just keeps getting worse, and lawsuits take time. So Adams sent a letter to New York Governor Kathy Hochul asking for the state to cover 2/3 of the cost of sheltering the migrants and to help spread migrants across the state's counties. Rather than help, Hochul slammed Adams' migrant response in a 12-page letter. In the letter, Hochul said the state did a lot to help New York City, such as by securing nearly $1.5 billion in financial support. The letter goes on to accuse the city of acting too slowly and not accepting state assistance over the last year. To be fair to Hochul, she's got a delicate balancing act on her plate. After all, the mandate to give shelter to anyone who needs it is in New York City, not in 57 other New York counties, and technically, she's their governor too. Technically. Adams punched back and condemned Hochul's handling of the New York migrant crisis as wrong. No surprise they're fighting. Most divorces begin with arguments around money, and there are some serious money issues here. The city has received about $140 million in federal funds, while spending about $1.5 billion in the last fiscal year on housing and serving migrants. It expects to pay $4 billion this year and up to $12 billion by July 2025. Who'd want to foot the bill for that? So what about sending migrants to other states like New Jersey, right next door? Well, New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy shut the door, saying that the state can't handle New York City migrants. This is the same guy who vowed to make New Jersey a sanctuary state back when he was on the campaign trail, saying, "We'll be a sanctuary, not just city, but state." I'd say he's probably eating his words right now, but former Governor Chris Christie already ate all the words. Democrats are trying to shift the blame onto Republicans like Texas Governor Greg Abbott for busing the illegal immigrants to their cities. Adams called Abbott a madman down in Texas and blamed him for the 110,000 migrants in New York City. Other Democrats are offering more than just words. LA City Council is pushing for legal action against the Texas governor over migrant buses. Yep, that's right, it's all the Republicans' fault. It's not like President Biden himself has flown migrants to New York and other states. Multiple times, at least according to the New York Post. To add even more hypocrisy, the LA Times reported that the Biden administration is considering forcing some illegal immigrant families to remain near the border in Texas while awaiting asylum screening. On the surface, this simply looks like a way to make it easier to deport families that fail asylum screening because they're closer to the border. But some on the right see this as the most hypocritical border policy yet, since it looks like Biden's trying to save Democrat-run cities from being even more overwhelmed by putting the burden on Texas to provide more shelter. That's not so far-fetched, since the blue state migrant crisis is sparking a political disaster for Biden. Adams isn't just blaming New York City's crisis on Republicans. He's also blaming Biden for not doing enough. And the Massachusetts governor is slamming the White House for bringing about a federal crisis of inaction. It's gotten to the point where the New York Times says once loyal Democrats have reluctantly joined Republicans to train their fire on President Biden, and that some are sounding remarkably like Republicans. And from the Republicans' perspective, Democrats are getting their just desserts, since they preach so much about welcoming illegal immigrants without thinking much about the costs until it becomes a reality for them. All while Republican border states have to deal with far worse on a daily basis. Families crossing the U.S. border illegally has reached an all-time high, with arrests in general reaching more than 177,000 in August alone. And Republican states are on the front lines. Democrats are just getting a small taste of what small towns like El Paso have to face. Republicans do welcome Democrats' criticisms against Biden, though. Now, New York City may be drowning in people, but America Uncovered can never get enough. We need more people to come into the borders of Patreon with voluntary contributions on patreon.com/America Uncovered. You can rest assured that there's always room for you. Now, if you want to learn more about how sending migrants off to different states became even more popularized thanks to Florida, then click on this video. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.